At the Chinese Grand Prix, Hamilton's Ferrari SF25 suffered a disqualification that left everyone shocked. After winning the sprint race, Sunday's disqualification was a major blow to the team and the driver. This exposed a serious technical issue for Ferrari, but it also raised a conversation. Is Lewis Hamilton, one of the greatest drivers in history, really capable of competing at the highest level? At the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton experienced one of the most difficult moments of his career with a disqualification that left everyone shocked. After a thrilling Saturday in which he won the sprint race, everything seemed to indicate that the British driver had found the pace he had so lacked in the early races of the season. However, Sunday turned into a nightmare. Ferrari's SF25, the new car with which Hamilton and his teammate Charles Leclerc are striving to improve the Scuderia's competitiveness, suffered a disqualification due to a technical issue related to excessive wear on the skid plate. This incident sparked significant controversy within the paddock, as the disqualification not only affected Hamilton but also Leclerc, who found himself in a similar situation. Both drivers were forced to abandon their previous results, and the Ferrari team faced a series of questions about the reliability and performance of their car. The disqualification was a severe blow for Ferrari, which had hoped for strong results in China after a winter of intensive work to improve the SF25. Despite winning the sprint race, a lack of consistency during the main race revealed a technical fault with the car that hampered both Hamilton and Leclerc. This sparked a broader debate about Ferrari's ability to design a competitive car and, above all, Hamilton's ability to adapt to a different car than the one he had been used to at Mercedes. Criticism of Hamilton was swift. Some experts began to question whether, at 40 years old, the Briton still had what it took to compete with the younger drivers on the grid, especially in a team that seemed far from the expectations set for the 2025 season. Although Hamilton had shown glimpses of his talent in the early races, the disqualification in China, combined with the pressure Ferrari is facing to regain competitiveness, raised doubts about his future in Formula One. Furthermore, this incident highlighted Ferrari's technical vulnerability. Although the Italian team has a great track record in Formula One, recent seasons have been marked by a lack of stability and an inability to compete with Red Bull, which continues to dominate the grid with Max Verstappen at the wheel. Ferrari not only needs to improve its car, but also find the consistency that allows it to compete at the highest levels. However, beyond the criticism, the disqualification incident should not be interpreted as the end of Hamilton's career. The disqualification was a technical issue that could have been avoided with better control during car inspection, but it did not necessarily reflect a weakness in the driver's skills. The real question is whether Hamilton can overcome this setback and prove that, despite the technical challenges and criticism, he remains one of the best in F1 history. This incident also made it clear that Ferrari, although with a promising car, has a lot of work to do to ensure these types of failures are not repeated. The relationship between Hamilton and the Scuderia will be key in the coming months, as both struggle to find the necessary balance to take the team to the top. Following Lewis Hamilton's disqualification at the Chinese Grand Prix, criticism of his performance was immediate. From Formula One experts to casual fans, many began to doubt whether the British driver still had what it took to compete at the highest level. The most common criticism was his age, arguing that Hamilton's 40 years could be an obstacle to continuing to fight for victories and championships. Detractors pointed out that, although he remains an incredibly talented driver, he no longer displayed the same consistency and ability to get the most out of his car as he did in his younger years. These kinds of comments created a significant divide within the F1 community. Some believed Hamilton was being unfairly singled out, while others claimed that his lack of solid results in 2025 could be a sign that his prime was over. Amid this debate, Jeremy Clarkson, known for his outspoken and provocative opinions, stepped in to defend the Ferrari driver. In a recent appearance on his show, The Grand Tour, Clarkson made it clear that he did not share the critics' opinions. For the British journalist, Lewis Hamilton remains one of the greatest drivers in the history of Formula One. While the disqualification in China was certainly a setback, Clarkson showed that it was not enough reason to question Hamilton's ability. Throughout his career, Hamilton has demonstrated an incredible ability to adapt to different circumstances, both in terms of team and car, and has earned his success thanks to his strategic approach and ability to manage races under pressure. Clarkson also highlighted that, despite Hamilton facing competition from young drivers like Max Verstappen, the Briton still has an advantage in experience and his ability to manage racing dynamics over the long term. Unlike younger drivers who may be faster on a single lap or have an aggressive approach, Hamilton has a deep understanding of racing and knows how to maximize his performance throughout an entire Grand Prix. This, according to Clarkson, is an invaluable skill, especially in a season like the 2025 season, where consistency is key to success. Furthermore, Clarkson argued that criticisms about Hamilton's age are overblown. In Formula One, performance is not determined solely by youth, but by a combination of factors such as skill, experience, and relationship with the team. Hamilton, with his incredible winning record, remains a formidable competitor, and his transition to Ferrari should not be seen as a weakness, but rather as an opportunity to reinvent himself and demonstrate that he still has the ability to challenge the younger talents on the grid. On the other hand, Clarkson's response also included criticism of the excessive pressure placed on drivers like Hamilton. The British journalist pointed out that in a sport as demanding as F1, a single mistake, such as a disqualification due to technical issues, can lead many to question the worthiness of a driver who, until recently, was considered a living legend. According to Clarkson, it is unfair to judge a driver like Hamilton on a single incident, especially when considering his track record and achievements throughout his career. Clarkson emphasized that while Max Verstappen has dominated in recent years, this does not mean Hamilton has lost his touch. The Briton still has the talent and skills necessary to compete with the best in the world, and his adaptation to the Ferrari SF25, although challenging, is far from indicative of his past prime. In his opinion, Hamilton is at a different stage of his career, but remains a strong contender, capable of defying any criticism and continuing to fight for the title. The journalist concluded his defense by stating that, while new generations of drivers are establishing their dominance in Formula One, Hamilton's experience, coupled with his adaptability, remains a significant strategic advantage. For Clarkson, those who claim Hamilton is past his prime are likely underestimating the longevity of his career and his ability to reinvent himself when the situation requires it. With all this, Clarkson's response to criticism of Hamilton not only defended the British driver but also sent a clear message about how F1 and its fans must value the experience and talent of drivers, regardless of their age, more than ever. As the 2025 season progresses, Clarkson's words seem to be a reminder that, in Formula One, talent never loses its value, and Hamilton remains one of the most relevant and dangerous figures on the grid. Lewis Hamilton's future at Ferrari has become one of the most talked about topics in Formula One. After joining the Italian team for the 2025 season, many expected the Briton to bring his vast experience and help the Scuderia challenge the most dominant teams, such as Red Bull and McLaren. However, the transition has not been easy, and the disqualification in China was just the latest obstacle facing Hamilton in his new venture with Ferrari. The Maranello team has experienced ups and downs in recent years. Although Ferrari has fielded competitive cars on occasion, such as the SF23, it has never achieved the consistency needed to sustainably challenge for the Constructors' or Drivers' Championships. In 2024, despite Ferrari finishing second in the Constructors' Championship, the team failed to live up to the high expectations placed on it at the start of the season. The lack of wins, combined with a series of technical and strategic errors, made it clear that Ferrari still had a lot of work to do. The signing of Hamilton was a strategic move by Ferrari, seeking to take advantage of the Briton's experience and race management skills. However, the start of his relationship with the team has not been as expected. Adapting the SF25, Ferrari's new car for 2025, has been a challenge for both Hamilton and his teammate Charles Leclerc. Although Hamilton remains an extremely talented driver, the SF25 still has several technical issues that have affected its performance, especially in the early races of the season. Throughout his career, Hamilton has demonstrated an exceptional ability to adapt to different conditions and teams, but this time he faces a bigger challenge. The relationship between Hamilton and Ferrari goes beyond his talent as a driver. It is a process of mutual integration, where Ferrari must also improve its car and its strategy so that the Briton can fight for the championship again. The pressure is on Ferrari to prove that the SF25 has the potential to be competitive in all circumstances and that it can offer Hamilton the necessary tools to return to the top. Despite the initial difficulties, Hamilton's future at Ferrari is not necessarily in jeopardy. As the team makes technical adjustments and learns from its mistakes, the Ferrari car is likely to improve and allow Hamilton to fight for consistent victories. The key will be how Ferrari addresses the reliability and performance issues that have plagued its car in the early races of the season. If the team manages to optimize the SF25, Hamilton could once again become a serious contender for the Drivers' Championship. Hamilton's adaptation to Ferrari will be a crucial factor in this process. Throughout his career, the Briton has shown that he doesn't give up easily in the face of challenges. His ability to quickly learn a new car and adapt to the demands of each team has been one of the pillars of his success. However, at 40 years old, this adaptation process isn't as simple as it once was. Hamilton needs time to familiarize himself with the characteristics of the SF25 and find the right rhythm, but he also needs Ferrari to do its part and provide him with a car that can compete with the best. Another important factor in Hamilton's future at Ferrari is his relationship with Charles Leclerc. The dynamic between the two drivers will be critical to the team's success. Leclerc, considered one of the fastest drivers on the grid, has long been the face of Ferrari, but with Hamilton's arrival, the Scuderia now has two elite drivers with complementary skills. If Ferrari manages the relationship between the two properly, they can form an extremely competitive duo, with Leclerc dominating qualifying and Hamilton demonstrating his ability to manage the race. While Hamilton has the ability to continue fighting for the championship, one of the big questions is whether Ferrari can provide him with a car competitive enough to challenge Red Bull and McLaren. Red Bull's dominance, especially with Max Verstappen, is a barrier Ferrari must overcome. The Italian team needs a more efficient aerodynamic package, better tire management, and improved reliability to stay in the title fight. If Ferrari fails to significantly improve the SF25, Hamilton could find himself without the right tools to compete at the highest level. Hamilton's future is also linked to his desire to achieve an 8th world title. With this goal in mind, the Briton may be willing to adapt quickly and be more demanding with Ferrari, seeking perfection in every aspect of the car and the team's strategy. His legacy is at stake, and the desire to secure that 8th championship could drive Hamilton to give his all, even in the face of the toughest challenges. For Hamilton, the opportunity to win a title with Ferrari would not only be a personal achievement, but also a way to cement his place as one of the greatest drivers of all time. In short, Hamilton's future at Ferrari depends largely on the team's ability to improve its car and how both driver and team adapt to their respective challenges. Despite early difficulties, Hamilton remains one of the most dangerous figures in Formula One, and in time, the SF25 could become the vehicle that allows him to challenge for the championship again. If Ferrari can provide the necessary technical and strategic support, Hamilton could be ready to compete with the young talents on the grid and perhaps add an 8th title to his impressive trophy cabinet. Throughout this analysis, we have broken down Lewis Hamilton's current situation at Ferrari, from his adaptation to the SF25 to the difficulties and criticism he has faced in the opening races of the 2025 season. While the disqualification at the Chinese Grand Prix was a significant setback, it should not be seen as the end of Hamilton's career. Rather, it underscores the reality that in Formula One, challenges are constant, and a driver's ability to adapt and continue fighting for the title is what truly defines great champions. Jeremy Clarkson's response was key to putting the criticism of Hamilton into perspective. Clarkson defended the British driver, pointing out that his race management skills and experience remain valuable assets in any team. Criticisms about his age and performance should be put into perspective because, as the journalist pointed out, it's not just youth that defines a great driver, but the ability to adapt to every situation and remain competitive. Despite the difficulties Hamilton faces in his transition to Ferrari, his story is far from over, and the 2025 season still has much to offer. As for Ferrari, the team is facing a test of fire. Hamilton's arrival is an opportunity to demonstrate that the Scuderia can remain a serious contender for the championship. However, this will depend on their ability to improve the SF25 and correct the technical flaws that have emerged in the first few races. The team has the potential to be competitive, but needs to work on key aspects such as reliability, aerodynamics, and tire management to keep up with giants like Red Bull and McLaren. If Ferrari manages to optimize its car and find a balance between its drivers, the team could return to the fight for the Constructors' and Drivers' Championships. On the other hand, the relationship between Hamilton and Leclerc will be crucial in determining Ferrari's future. If both drivers can complement each other and work together, Ferrari could have one of the strongest pairings on the grid, with Hamilton bringing his experience and Leclerc providing speed and determination. Together, they can form a team capable of challenging any opponent. However, one of the big questions that remains relevant is whether Hamilton will achieve his 8th world title with Ferrari. This is a personal and professional goal that remains a central motivation for the British driver. With his impressive legacy, Hamilton is determined to prove he still has what it takes to keep winning. The key will be how Ferrari can provide him with the tools necessary to make this dream a reality, with a competitive car and an effective strategy. Finally, the 2025 season is far from over, and Hamilton's future at Ferrari will depend on his ability to overcome the obstacles that come his way, both on and off the track. The upcoming races will be crucial to see if Ferrari can adjust its technical and strategic approach, and if Hamilton can adapt to his new environment to continue fighting for victory. If all goes according to plan, we could see a renewed Hamilton fighting for his 8th title and proving once again why he is one of the best drivers in the history of Formula One.